Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. I'm Dan Gershenson with Caliber Brand Strategy and Content Marketing. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that virtually every small business owner struggles with and never has enough of, which is time. So today, we're talking about having enough time in your day, your week, your month for doing one of the most important activities to develop and grow your business: marketing. You have a million things to do in a day. We get it. And we're business owners too. So if you don't have time for marketing, what's the small business owner to do then? Well, as it turns out, there are things that you can do to further your marketing efforts right now, even if you're one of the many time challenged small business owners out there. And the five of us are going to help show you how to do just that in this episode. As always, I am joined by Tucker and Paul Barthel of Changescape Web, Ian Cantle of Outsource Marketing, and Jen Kelly of New Initiatives Marketing. Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Hey.
Let's get into this. And even as I ask these questions, that I will have on this, and I have a million questions, but I also want you guys to think about other things that you have advised on how to either save time or things in your own life as marketers that you have done to save time. Everything is on the table here. But Ken, I wanted to start with you.
okay.
Small business owners would probably love to get to the marketing function of their business, but the reality is they just don't have time in the day to do that, or at least they think they have no time anyway. So why don't we help them break this challenge of having no time down into some smaller, more manageable chunks? If we're going to start with what's most important for the small business owner to think about first when it comes to marketing, what's one of the very first things that they can and should focus on?
Yeah. So I think it comes down right now, we're in a world where a lot of businesses are facing an existential crisis. They're struggling and they're trying to figure out how are they just going to survive. So, from that perspective, you've got to figure out what is that way that you can infuse your business with cash flow and profitable cash flow as fast as possible. Ideally, in the best of all possible worlds, you'd be able to start with you doing some strategy and definitely laying out some planning, and that's absolutely critical. You should do that. But I also think that, in the case of some businesses, they've got to figure out what can they do to generate leads and get customers as fast as possible. So if you're facing that existential crisis, that's where you need to spend your attention. If you aren't facing that existential crisis, or at least it's not as imminent, you will be better served by putting together some kind of a plan. Don't, the temptation is to try to do everything for everybody. Don't do that. I'm as guilty as anybody about that. As a matter of fact, we had a planning session yesterday and uncovered, what our real critical go-to-market strategies that we need to be implementing. And now we're going to be working on putting plans together in place to make that happen. Every business needs to do that. And I think it's, in this case, I hired somebody externally to give us that advice. Because they're not mired in the day-to-day operations of the business. And so, having an expert come in and help guide that process, I think is really, really valuable. If you are facing that existential crisis, I think you need to be looking at some kind of a paid ad strategy, Google ads or Facebook ads, depending on the nature of your business. Be prepared to spend a little bit of money, but that's the fastest way to turn on the lead flow and the spigot of opportunities that you probably need. Um, but realize that that's kind of a band-aid, to get you from point A to point B. But really, as soon as you can, step outside, develop that strategy, put that plan in place together, prioritize it, and don't do everything for everybody.
Yeah. strategy first, tactics second, as we all say.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, I think unfortunately right now in a world we're in a world where a lot of businesses can't even think about that. I mean, we've had conversations with so many businesses. It's like restaurants is a great example. It's like they would love to do marketing, they can't because the managers, they're literally in the business, running the business. They're cooking, they're waiting tables, they're doing whatever they can to keep the business flowing. Um, you know, Once you get outside that existential crisis, because that could be your existential crisis, you don't even have the ability to take time to get out and do marketing. Um, you need to be thinking about planning and strategy work for sure.
Got it.
And if Ken, that list you said was excellent. The one thing I would add to it, if you're a local business, is GMB, Google My Business. Like you got to optimize that because that can sometimes even outperform your ads, or layer them on top
True.
of each other. But
Yeah.
get
Great
that
point.
Google loves Google.
Yeah.
Get GMB optimized.
Yeah. Well, and as a part of that is, a really strong online review strategy is fundamental to helping you with your Google My Business page. So even taking the step to put a system in place to go make sure you're getting great online reviews, you're monitoring those and you're responding those is going to be really beneficial to help improve your online presence.
Perfect. I do think that, when business owners are crunched for time, Ian, they get impatient with the process of selling. They don't want to be terribly sophisticated about it. Sometimes they don't want to think about, this. We always talk about the buyer's journey and the 7 stages. And sometimes when they just feel like they have no time, they can just maybe blurt out these product and services bullet points, just over and over and over again. No, it's this, it's this, it's this. And they just want to cut to the chase. But you and I both know, and as Ken just said, we want to plan the right way strategically. But what kinds of things can you tell the business owner who needs to, as Ken said, plan the right way for their brand up front, but they also have some anxiety about, I need to make more sales yesterday. I need to make rent and payroll and time sensitive elements. What kinds of things can you do to get on the same page and feel better?
Yeah. Yeah. My first thing I would tell somebody like that is you are not alone. Like there's hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of businesses dealing with the exact same thing. So you're not alone, but that doesn't mean you should gather a crowd of people that are in the same situation and feel bad about it. Ken already touched on this, and you're going to hear this a lot today, I think, because as a business owner, regardless of the business you started, and regardless of whether you took a marketing class in university or college 20 years ago, you don't market every day. You do what you do every day, and you probably do it with excellence. And if you don't, you should. But you need to gather help. You need to ask for help from people that can help you, that can come alongside. Ken talked about it as kind of an objective point of view to be able to guide you through the process. So I think getting help is step number one for regardless of the marketing situation you're in, because the 5 people on this panel, we eat, breathe, sleep marketing. Like it's our passion. It's what we do to it's our superpower. It's what we do to help people. And yes, it does cost money, but it's an exchange, right? You're exchanging your money to free up your time and actually to improve what's happening with your business. So I would say get help, be strategic about what marketing you invest in, look at what you can track, what you can measure, look at the return on investment. You don't want to be chasing after the latest shiny object. You don't want to be chasing squirrels like the dog in Up. You want to be smart about it. You want to go, okay, what's going to give me the best? Maybe I only have a small budget to start, but what would this marketing guide recommend that I put that towards in order to get the momentum going in my business? I think those things are really vital. And the last point is with regards to your budget, be sustainable. Don't dump it on a billboard or even on Google Ads for a one-hit wonder. Like you got to think sustainability. What can my business sustain for the next 2 to 3 months so that I can invest in the right things, get the momentum going, and then as new business comes in, reinvest some of those funds I'm earning back into marketing to take it to the next level. And again, a guide can help you figure that out. So it's really important to choose the right guide. But that would be my. I know I didn't really zone in on the
No.
marketing hourglass or the buyer's journey, but I think those are really important things because
Yeah.
most business owners don't even understand the buyer's journey, and nor should they necessarily without the help of a guide.
Ian, that's a great point. I mean, you talked about kind of the one hit wonder where you might pay for a direct mail campaign and send a bunch of postcards to people, and you do it once, or you run Google Ads for 1 month because you got that coupon from Google saying if you spend 100, we'll give you $50.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? That's burning your time and energy, and it's a waste of time and money. There's no strategy there. It's not a campaign. Marketing has to be campaign driven. It can't be a one-off tactic. And you're better off saving your money to the point where you can actually do something with it instead of just doing this, this one-off kind of stuff. That's the fastest way, because all that's going to do is it's going to just keep you on that downward spiral. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to say, I got no results. I spent $150 on Google and I didn't get anybody, or the people that clicked on my ad, they know nobody called me, and that just feeds the frustration. So you've got to get out of that loop.
And
Yeah.
Ken,
Go
what you
ahead.
said actually pulls us back into how Dan phrased the question, which is the marketing hourglass of know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, refer, right? So what you were talking about is when somebody does a one-hit blast, they're not building a relationship with these people. And as a business owner, which way do I go? This way? I always get mixed up on the camera, but we have to start from the position of, hey, these people don't even know us as a business. So why are they going to trust us and buy from us? We have to build trust, and most marketing gurus will tell us, and it keeps growing. But it took 7 touches from a business before somebody was ready to buy, and it's grown even more because our insatiable appetite for information and personal research.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're hitting on something important here, which is particularly the kind of person we're talking about today could very well be the kind of person who might get overwhelmed with what they see on social media, let's say LinkedIn or Facebook, or even what comes in their email inbox of, you should do this, you should do that. If you do one thing, make sure that you do blah, 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 or this is dead, or that's dead. And I, as a business owner myself, and I'm a marketing person, I am overwhelmed by that. So I can't imagine the person who has no time, what they're thinking. They're probably like, I don't want to be a marketing person. I don't want to learn marketing. I just want it to work, and I want to maybe understand what you're doing. But I think it's a balance, isn't it? Like where you're saying, I want to obviously educate you on what I'm doing. I want to be transparent about that, but I don't want to overwhelm you and give you a PhD in marketing because you don't have the time for that. So I think one of the things that you're also hitting on here is chemistry. That's all I would add is you have to know the chemistry of who you're working with and when you are potentially making a hire for that marketer to help you out. Probably one of the better ways to do that is a try before you buy. Like, give them something. Don't worry about making it complicated. What's something that you need help with in the next 30 days? And can they do it? And what's it like to just talk to them, communicate with them? Are you feeling okay? Do you think you want to expand that? And that's maybe where to go. So that kind of chemistry, you can't underestimate that. But Paul, I wanted to bring you in because I think with this, with what we're saying about small business owners, one of the things that I always hear is, okay, but I want to get to the right member of my audience faster. Okay, but how do I know who to contact? Do I just go on LinkedIn and just start searching for them? Or, that takes a lot of time and I don't have time, and I need leads, and I need a lot of leads, and I need them right now. So if let's say a business owner is all about leads, and, their time is more valuable than ever, and they're crunched more than ever, are there any kinds of manageable steps that small business owner with no time can take to just use that little amount of time wisely to capture more leads?
They should have started earlier. It takes time to build a list, and going out and buying a list is generally a bad idea. So you have to have an email capture system in place. Yes, you can go in on LinkedIn and Facebook. You can create audiences on Facebook, run ads on Facebook. You can run ads, Google ads, but there's no quick fix silver bullet for building a list. It takes time, and you have to have an email capture system in place, and that's the biggest thing we see is we'll ask people for a customer list and they'll send us a name and a phone number. And how can you email people without an email address?
Right.
So I know that's not the answer anyone wants to hear, but you can't just magically produce a list. You can go buy a list, and then you'll probably get your domain blacklisted if you start sending out emails. You can buy a list and cleanse that list, but if you're going to buy a list, you have to be really careful.
Well, and it's a numbers game, and it's a slow game.
Yes.
So if you're thinking that the fast path is to buy a list, it's actually a really slow process. And you have to be really careful, as Paul talked about, in setting up a really cold campaign. I would just jump in and say, from a pragmatic perspective, the best thing that I think most people could do in the efficiency of time is do video. Video is the next best thing to being there in person. It gives people they feel like they meet you. Video is just such a great medium. I mean, it's multi-purposed. You can put it on your website, you can put it on Facebook, you can put it on YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you want to share it. You can take that, transcribe it. And that one piece of content actually gives you, 5-10 pieces of content that you can actually use. And it's, and then if you look at it from a Facebook perspective or an Instagram perspective, when you're doing video on those platforms in particular, it gets better reach. Though the algorithms reward you for doing video and even live video. So whether it's Reels, or whether it's a Facebook Live, that's the fastest way to gain exposure. Now, there's serendipity that's going to come into play here, where maybe hopefully somebody who sees that is going to say, oh, okay, I need to contact this person. So for example, one of our clients, I would like to say that I gave him this idea. Hopefully he's learned it through osmosis. I'm not sure it could be traced to us. He did a video while he was on top of the roof talking about, here's what I look for when I'm, surveying a roof to see if it needs to be repaired. That's the kind of thing that is really easy to do. And, it got a lot of likes and shares from people, and he reached a whole lot more people in the community than he probably would have done with many other things. And that was just a simple, quick 3-minute video that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fastest way to get in front of people to get leads are to get in front of the people that are looking for your product or service. And you already touched on this, Ken, but Google Ads, building strategic partners with like-minded businesses. So if you're an accountant and you're a bookkeeper or whatever, right? Like just finding people that have the same type of ideal customer and building alliances so that you can send each other business. Networking is an awesome way. But I would say, like with the Google Ads or anything where you're driving traffic to attract leads, you have to be thoughtful about, if the person's not ready to buy now, how am I going to nurture this relationship? And that goes back to Paul's answer about, like, you need to build your list. So you need to offer something of value to the person so that they'll give you their email address or
Or
phone
text.
numbers
Or
or
phone number.
text. Yeah. So that you can continue this relationship outside of the world of paying for Google Ads.
And kind of a follow-up question to that, when we, bringing back in the email list, I think one of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people who have nothing in the way of a list probably, one of the best things they could probably do right now. We know that, okay, buying a list or renting a list is a bad idea. But what if they were, say, wanted to take 50 people that they know very well, they've talked to at least in the last year or two. They may not be the end customer, but these are the people who can be your allies, your advocates. They like you. They may have been some past customers. They may be a strategic partner, but maybe it's also some colleagues who, as you touched on networking, people who have been in your networking group, friendly faces where you can just get 50 of them, to start and then build on it from there with more qualified leads. Any thought on that?
Referrals can be a great way to build a list. And this day and age, like I said, they'll send us name and phone number. Well, if you have a phone number, you can do a text messaging program. Just make sure you have an opt-out option.
Yes.
Yeah, and try to get a warm intro from those people rather than just like hey, this is Bob. He might be interested in your service. Like make it a warm intro, because it's all about relationship building. So if somebody can fast track that path for you, then that's amazing.
Yeah, the perfect intro in reverse. That's something we've talked about as well, Ian. I think you talked about it in advance too, or Dan, maybe you did, where you actually write something for somebody as an example, and you give it to them for them to use, and they can kind of infer that, and oh, by the way, here's one for me, just as another example. And now you're in BNI, we like to talk about training our sales force, because the members of that BNI chapter are our sales force. And so we have meetings with them once a week to talk about, what it is that we're looking for, who is our ideal client, or, what industry are we looking to get introduced to people in, and getting buy-in from other people to be that extended sales force for you, whether it's a partner program, if you've got, if you're a plumber, and you frequently need electrical work done, build that relationship, and that's massive. I mean, because every one of your customers, you might be able to refer to somebody else, and hopefully they're going to be in a situation where they can do the same for you.
Yeah, there's probably, when you're in a BNI or anything like that, you go around the room, and pretty much every week, at least in my experience, most of the people there are going to stand up and say, "Hi, I'm so and so. I do this," and then they get to a part where they say, anyone who needs my service. And I think, to your point, Ken, I think this is where they have a golden opportunity to be far more specific than anyone else in the room, where they can say, I'm looking for a painter who has whatever trait, or even if you use LinkedIn, maybe, hey, I see that you are connected to so-and-so. Could I get an introduction?
Exactly.
I've literally done that in a BNI meeting, because you only get 30 seconds, let's say. You may not be the featured speaker that week.
Right.
So why not take advantage of that? They know by now, after 3 times, they know who you are and what you do. They don't need your job description. They just need to know who you're looking for and help them help you. Right. I think that's always the thing that we go back to.
Well, being specific is what you need to do with marketing.
It's terrific.
If you do everything for everybody, you don't have enough money or enough time to ever effectively reach those people. And any business you get is pure luck.
Yeah.
You need to be as specific as possible. That's why it's important to identify who your ideal target clients are. Develop strategies to get in front of those. asking specifically for introductions, from your referral partners to specific people, or at least people within a specific niche or industry. If you're doing Google ads, you don't want to run a Google ad. Hey, anybody who's looking for this, you want to
Anybody
be
with teeth.
specific.
Yep.
What's that?
Or anyone with teeth for a dentist, or anyone with a back for a chiropractor.
Yeah.
So being specific is good. I know it's hard for a lot of people. They're like, oh my God, I'm excluding everybody else. And it's like, that's okay. That's another marketing campaign if they're a good ideal customer for you. If not, that's okay too, because you don't want to waste your time and money.
Yeah. Let's go back, Ken, to your man on the roof, your roofer, and say, let's say that, yes, he's doing the videos and those are working pretty good. People are starting to be aware of him, but at the same time, he's struggling with having the time to stay in touch with past customers, past people who have sung his praises, and he doesn't know how to get in touch with them as often as he would like. How does that guy, as a business owner who's short on time, he's got jobs to do, how does he find the best way to sort of keep up with his current and past customers, to stay relevant, top of mind, and hopefully get a repeat piece of business?
Yeah, so with roofers, that's interesting because it's hard to get repeat business from the same customer, because ideally a roof is going to last 30 to 50 years, depending on the shingles you get and the quality of the installation that it is, pending any storm damage or anything like that. But you do need to think about, what can I do to help stay top of mind, and social media can be that really good channel. Email marketing is critical. Every business should have some kind of email marketing strategy. You don't want to be annoying. You want to add value. Just like on social media, you want to continue to add value. So I think doing those things. And if you're wondering, gosh, what can I possibly say? It's like, okay, well, we'll use the roofer as an example, and I'm just kind of brainstorming here, but everybody twice a year has gutter issues, because of leaves. So it's like, maybe you just provide a simple little reminder to say, hey, it's fall, before it starts to get really cold outside, you need to take care of your gutters. Here are some simple tips that we've found, and just share that information. That gives you a good excuse to send an email out to somebody. And maybe they don't need to have the roof replaced, but maybe they're, they know somebody who's thinking about buying or selling a home, or they have, some friends who maybe were in an area that, where maybe they were worried about getting storm damage, or they heard somebody talking about, a problem with a raccoon crawling around on their house, and they're wondering if there's a related issue associated with that. Now, because you're doing things to stay top of mind, like email marketing, or doing a Facebook Live to talk. I mean, you could do Facebook Lives to talk about some of these kinds of things. It increases your visibility, and it is important to stay top of mind.
Awesome. Jen, I didn't mean to leave you off there in our discussion. It's
all good.
I wanted to ask you, let's say that you encounter a small business owner who says, they've got follower envy or influencer envy. I think this happens a lot, where, they don't have the time, but yet they're feeling like they're just getting left in the dust, and they just really want to be somebody, but they don't know how to be that person who has the 25,000 followers. And they'll literally say, I don't know how in the world that guy got all those followers. I'll never do that. I'll never have time. But I'm going to wager you probably don't think having all the followers in the world is the most important thing for them to focus on. So how does a business owner with a whole lot of time to spare start to build a little bit more influence online, at least bit by bit, gradually upward, so that they can feel like they're on the right path?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that happens no matter what industry we work in. There's always that what do you call it? Social media audience envy or whatever it is, like how did they get that much? Or, we should just pack it in now. There's no use, that kind of thing. So when that happens, and that happens to all kinds of businesses that we've dealt with in all kinds of industries and all kinds of sizes. So if you're one of those, it's okay. But first of all, I'll tackle it as a tactical question. Then we have to back out to strategy, really, because what is the point of your social channels, right? So you have to go back to that. So first of all, for anyone that comes to us and says, oh, 25,000, 100,000, whatever, how are we ever going to compete? What's the point? We would first do an audit on that. That's part of our TOPA, so the Total Online Presence Audit. That's something that we all of us on this podcast do for clients. And part of that audit includes a social media audit. And that's where you can really get under the hood and see, like, okay, client, you've got, 3-4 main competitors that you feel, a little bit of social media audience envy towards. Let's really dig under the hood and see what's going on. Oftentimes, and I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to one of our operations managers, and I was like, maybe we should change our name to like Underdog Marketing, because we're always dealing with, or often dealing with, the client that's like, oh, I don't know if we should compete. And then after we show them the analytics, they're like, oh, there's hope for us. There's hope. So in just to illustrate that, say there's the 25,000, audience members. But what we can find out through the audit is really, so how many of those people are really engaging? How many of those people compared to your audience do you have better engagement with? And then we'll look at your website. How many people from, say, your Facebook or your Twitter are coming back to your website, and what are they doing on your website? And are they leading to a sale for you? And that's where I want to get into the strategy, as in, what is the purpose of social media for your business? So is it to keep the lights on, make sure that you have a presence out there, but your orders and all of your transactions really come through, say, a long sales cycle that is, very, very personalized? Is it the kind of thing that you're selling a product or service that can be bought right off social or right off your website with no human interaction? So you have to understand, what are you using social media for, and what do you think is success? So if you have 250 people in your audience socially, compared to that, I think it was 25,000, but you're getting, a certain amount, 25% of those are turning into orders every week. That's pretty great. So that's where I say it has to back out into strategy. Like, what is the purpose of social for your business? How do you make the sale for your product or service? And then we could probably see that the 25,000, you don't need to be so envious of. So that would be the first. But your second part of the question, the business owner, who has no time, how do they, increase their presence? And, I have to tell you, it's the same thing that Paul said with like the email list. It's done slowly. It's done consistently. Can you get a program in place so you're showing up every single day? And I think, like Ken said, taking your video, say if you have a video that, say if we take that roofer, that 3-minute video could be broken out into a blog, could be broken out into 15-second snippets that could go on to that company's social media for the whole entire week. So 3 minutes turns into coverage for a whole week. So I would say, look at the content and try and get more mileage out of your content by posting, every day that you can, that's reasonable for your business, and set that up to get scheduled. And then you can start to build the presence there every single day.
That's
Jen, great points. Social media has led us to all of these really horrible false metrics. At the end of the day, the number of people who like your page or follow you or anything like that, it's completely irrelevant. At the end of the day, if you're in business, you're in business to make money. That means number of leads, number of closed deals, those are the most important metrics. You never, ever should lose sight of that. Anything else it's vanity. It's we would all like to have larger followings because that makes us feel good. It's an easy metric to understand and look at and say, oh yeah, look at that. But you know what? Those are all false. Don't worry about those. Don't be distracted by them. Focus on what is closing business for you.
Yeah, when you talk about those metrics, Ken, if you look at the origins of social media, it's not in a business tool. It's in social connections, and that's where all the likes and followers, and it's these vanity metrics, and it doesn't mean anything from a business standpoint. But if you look at the origins of social media and where it started, it was about ego. Oh, look at all these people following me, look at all my friends. And from a social follower standpoint, maybe it makes you feel good, but has no bearing on business, really.
Thanks for being my friend, Paul.
Well, you didn't give me $1 yet.
Jen, I want to stay on this for a second because you mentioned content and you mentioned the frequency of posting. I think all 5 of us have gotten this pushback from business owners with no time, where they go, "What? You're talking about writing a blog? Well, I don't know what to write about. I'm always trying to come up with ideas, but what the heck am I gonna? I don't know what to write about." And then maybe they do come up with something, this grand blog post if they get to it. But then what happens? We know it sits on. The next one might sit on the shelf for months. So if someone is challenged for time, is also challenged for content to do kinds of just what you said, to put things out with greater frequency, if not every day, then certainly every week. What do you think they can do to maybe shake loose some topics to write about, or find their inspiration a little bit faster so that they can dial up to that frequency that you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I hear this all the time. The most important thing I would say is, so if you're, if you have a sales team, go to your sales team and ask them, what are the most common questions that folks are asking before they buy from us? There's there's a whole bunch of topics there for you, answering those questions that people have. We're recording this on a Thursday. All of 5 of us have probably had at least one problem this week that we could, blog about. So really, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be super thought leadership. It has to be what are some of the topics that your customers have? What kind of hesitations do they have that you'd like to put them at ease before they buy your product or service? So I would say that would be a good idea. And then if you get the pushback that sounds so simple, or we already talked about that, I mean, until your customers just hand over their wallet without asking you any questions, you still have to answer their questions and make them feel confident that they're making the right choice buying the product or service from you. So I'd say, first of all, the easiest place to go is all the resistance that you had to make the sale. If that's, if you're going for more, all the folks that didn't buy from you, and think about those questions or the resistance that they had there. Was it price? Was it timing? Was it, what was it? And answer those questions. So those would be, first of all, a good place to start. Second of all, very, very applicable, because if it's questions your potential customers have, it's going to help the next customers that are, getting in line to buy from you this week.
Absolutely. I think those questions are a gold mine waiting to happen.
We've got someone.
Yes.
We've got some self-promotion. What's happening?
Yeah,
we answer that question in this book. I mean, every email you write to a customer is a potential blog post where you're answering a question or every proposal. If you write custom proposals, every proposal gives you the basis. If you don't have time, everybody has a smartphone these days. It has a voice recorder. If you're up on the roof, doing a roof inspection, use the voice recorder and explain what you're doing and why. Send that, get it transcribed. That's a blog post.
There you go.
Video. That's a blog post. Guest podcasting, like we talked about last week, that turns into a podcast, or a blog post, or several blog posts or social media posts. Harvesting blogs to turn that into social media content is a great way to create social media content. So, we spend a lot of time. I hate to be self-promotional, but this book right here really does cover that stuff.
Yeah. And I know what some people are going to say to this, which is, well, we're talking about time and you want me to do all this slicing and dicing and stuff. How do I, do that? And I think we know the answer is, you need to have help in some form or fashion. Sometimes people, I'm not saying this is the best answer, but sometimes they may use a VA service when it's not, intensive marketing stuff from scratch. Maybe they need to, it's more about the activity of the logistics of posting, and just giving them some direction. But, again, I'll be, since we're on the self-promotional track here with the book, I think any of us would say, people like us who are a resource for you to tag team some of this stuff. We don't have to do everything. But there are certain things that you are just not going to be able to get to. And rather than just, say, I'm going to get to it or I have to get to it, talk to somebody who might be a marketing consultant who can at least give you some clarity on what you can do and what you shouldn't be doing. Even if you can do it, doesn't mean you should. So, but the repurposing, I think, is absolutely on the money.
Yeah.
Ian, I wanted to ask, we were talking about Roofer, which is kind of a retail, a somewhat simple sale, but I wanted to talk about service-based businesses here for a second. Because in a perfect world, let's talk about prospecting as it relates to the service-based business. If I'm a business owner, I may reach out to a prospect. Maybe it's based on, it's on LinkedIn, and maybe it's based on a promotion, company merger, something in the news about that person or their company, maybe even a post they made on LinkedIn. But again, here we have the time pushback on what that takes. And we've also talked about email marketing where, that's a necessary thing, but their first gut thing probably would be, oh, I'm just going to blast this out to the masses. Not that that's bad, but talk about, if these folks don't have, all the time in the world to research prospects, be personalized in their messaging. Is there anything that you've ever found to sort of bring the best of both worlds together where they can get a little bit more personal, a little more one-to-one, to a qualified person for prospecting purposes when time isn't always there?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to sound a little like a broken record on this call, I think, today, but get help, right? Because again, you can always pull in a partner to help you. One of the things, and I'll answer the question more specifically in a second, but I also wanted to mention, even if you have kind of a junior person or a receptionist or your wife or husband or sister or brother or teenage kid, and you think, wow, these guys can, do some posting for me or do some research for me, I would say yes. But make sure you have a guide, a marketing guide, like somebody like us on this call or somebody else that you can trust to give you strategic guidance. Because otherwise, it's just going to be giving somebody else the onus to chase after a shiny object. Because that's what happens. If somebody is not strategically guided and given the framework to work in, and it's a smart framework for your business, it's just ultimately, I mean, hey, you could hit gold by accident, but it doesn't happen usually. Usually you have, topography maps and drilling maps and satellite maps that are showing you where to mine for gold. And, that's ultimately what the guide is for. But specifically, I would say if you still find, even though we're talking about somebody that has no time, right? So that's why I would say find somebody to help you. The second option is if you have a little time and you just want to find a way to do it more efficiently, tools. Like there are a myriad of really good tools out there. We as marketing consultants and marketing agencies, we use a ton of tools to be efficient when we deliver our services to our clients. So there are a ton of tools out there. Even things like if we're talking about professional services as opposed to, like home services, professional services, if you're trying to seek out other professionals, get like if you're already on LinkedIn, you're already connecting with people, like be engaged. If you're just, if you do nothing on LinkedIn and then you just try to connect with people, they're going to check you out and they're going to go, this person hasn't posted in 8 years. In fact, they've never posted anything, or they posted a picture of their cat once or something, right?
Or they have a
But
profile without the picture.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Like remember, it's social networking. So, but there are tools like right in LinkedIn. If you want to pay for a subscription to Sales Navigator, I have one of the niches that I support are dentists. And so in Sales Navigator, I have a search set up that's constantly pinging me with, hey, we found a dentist in this area with the criteria that you built out. Because you can set these searches up to be geographically focused. You can set them up to be what is their current role in a business? What seniority level do they have? So, use tools smartly. Yeah, but I would say the key to me is be consistent in whatever you're doing. Even if you're getting help from somebody, be consistent, because that's the thing that people gravitate towards is, wow, this person is posting stuff that makes sense. They seem like a nice person. They don't seem creepy. They're not bad mouthing their past employers or their past customers or their past marketing guides or vendors. Like it's, so, I mean, we all research the people we're connecting with because we want to understand who they are. So be visible enough that people can understand who you are. And then there's also tools that can help you outreach to those people. I talked about Sales Navigator to find people. There's stuff like InMail built into LinkedIn, like if we're just talking about LinkedIn specifically. So you can, instead of sending an email, you can send what's called an InMail directly to that person. You can post a message, like an almost the equivalent of an instant message to them. But just be aware that not everybody is super active on LinkedIn. So one of the search criteria you might want to include in that is when was the last time they engaged on LinkedIn? Because if they didn't engage with anything in the past 8 months, the chances are they're never going to see your message
Mm.
until 8 months later, kind of thing.
Yeah, we've got to talk about marketing automation and sales funnels. I mean, if you're talking about, if you don't have time, the best thing that you can do, or one of the very best things you can do, is to put some kind of a lead magnet that adds value in advance to somebody, but it has to be valuable enough for them to be willing to cough up an email or their cell phone number so that you can deliver that asset to them. But once you deliver that asset, now you've got an opportunity to have a nurture campaign where you can write and you can incorporate personalization with most marketing automation tools, to drip out information to them that helps move through the sales process. And we talked about, the number of touches that you need now in marketing. This is a great way to provide a 24/7, 365 salesperson to provide valuable information to help, and if you write your nurture emails in a smart way where you're addressing the problem that they have, overcoming objections, providing testimonial and customer success information, you're accelerating that sales process. That is, huge for everybody who does not have time. You need to get that system in place.
And I think, I don't want to neglect our old friend, direct mail. I think sometimes people forget that a good old printed piece can sometimes stand out in ways, we always talk about digital, but in the right case, I don't know what you guys think, but there's probably a usage for, doing a almost a direct mail funnel where you're driving them to a landing page or something
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
We did
I don't
we
know
did
if
an
you've been
episode
that
on
or
that.
not.
What's that, Paul?
We did a podcast episode on direct mail.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
I'm
And
I'm doing one of those funnels right now, Dan. Like I'm targeting both I have two different funnels going right now. One is for outsourced marketing, one is for our division called Dental Marketing Heroes. So Dental Marketing Heroes has a funnel where we've targeted particular dentists in particular geography. And we're sending postcards to them, but the postcard is all about it's a 5 postcard campaign. So every week they get a different postcard. in an envelope, so it's protected and that kind of stuff. But it's got a QR code on the back, so it's got a key message that ties in. It's got a QR code. Right now, we haven't gotten super sophisticated in that we're not sending them to a unique landing page yet, but that's the plan, is that the unique landing page will speak to whatever we're talking about on the postcard. Right now, it's really driving them to either a case study or to book a discovery call with us to find out how we can solve the problem we've been talking about on the postcard. And then same thing for outsourced marketing, except we're only targeting particular businesses that we want to win the business from. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not blasting it to the whole business community. We're saying, okay, I want a connection in SmartWay trailers. They seem like a really good business. I love what they're showing on social media. They're local. So I'm going to start nurturing and send it directly to the president of that, who I found on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ian, just stay on the northern side of the province, okay?
Yeah. There might be a few in Toronto.
Don't come down south of the 401.
Oh,
all right,
geez.
just stay.
Another important thing to do is time blocking. Just even if you're set aside an hour a week, or 30 minutes or 15 minutes a day to accomplish the marketing activity that you feel like you need to get done. Put it on your calendar, make a commitment, and do it. And if you're, like for social media, you can build out a marketing calendar, with a week's worth of posts or a month worth of posts, just by putting that time on your calendar, blocking it out, either writing, creating, or curating the posts that you want to share, and then scheduling them through really great social media tools. I mean, but step one is you've got to set aside time and do it in a way where you're going to be focused. You're not going to be distracted, and just have a plan and knock it out.
Excellent.
You know what's interesting too is I noticed in our comments that Steve Dickey, who's actually an electrician and a client of mine and a good friend, he's actually watching us today and commented. One of the interesting things that really aligns with what we're talking about today is so he's a general electrician. He's a master electrician. He does residential and commercial, but one of his strategies is he wants to build his commercial and his home building side of his business. And one of the ways he can do that is just what we've been talking about, is where he takes the time and he goes, hey, I really want to work with that home builder. I really want to work with that business that's a giant, a Honda plant or something like that. How are we going to do that? And talk to your marketer. And in this case, it's me, but we're here to help figure out, okay, tell us who your targets are, and we'll crack the code of how we can get you in front of those people and nurture those relationships and try to get your foot in the door.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know what you meant. Paul, I'm going to wrap it up with you. We've talked quite a bit here about repurposing, but at the risk of being totally redundant with this, I want to make sure that people who are listening understand where to start when we talk about repurposing, because I don't want them to think that suddenly they've got to, while they're slicing and dicing a lot of this stuff, let's go to where they can start. What's a good way when we talk about content? What's a good masterpiece of a piece of content that we can begin to slice and dice? Where do they start?
Well, you're right. We have touched on this throughout this whole episode, and it goes back. First of all, you have to have content. And I know we're talking about you have no time. Well, you either take the time to create the content, or you pay someone to do it, because you have to have content. And so one thing you can do is, if you Ken talked about video, if it's on YouTube, put it on your website, turn it into a blog post. If you have a long video, you can slice that up into smaller pieces and put it on Facebook. If you have a really long, in-depth blog post that's really comprehensive, turn that into a pillar page and create smaller pieces of content off of that in-depth content. So yeah, I mean, we've touched on this throughout the whole podcast, but yeah, you have to have content that's capable of being repurposed in the first place. And most content can be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the content that I think is always the most powerful is audio, video, or written, like a blog post, because you can do so many things. I mean, there are automated tools that will allow you to chunk pieces out. There's AI out there that will actually pull out what they think is the most important section of a video and break that out for you these days. So if you don't have time, as we've all talked about, hire somebody who can help you understand and take advantage of these tools, or just hire somebody to do it and be prepared to chunk this stuff out. But yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, I think we've hopefully for some of you business owners out there who say that you have no time, I hope we've given you some ideas to inject some more time back into your day. So if it feels just impossible to do marketing some days, it is entirely possible if you know how to pace yourself, stay focused on your goals, bring in some help, as we've said. Don't be afraid to delegate some of these things that you really need to do, and remain consistent. We can put you on the right path. So I'd like to thank our panel of marketing guides for their insights today, and we'll see you next time.